Hi, I'm Walt, and this is Delta Astrophotography. About a year ago, I made a PixInsight processing tutorial, and it is now very out of date. There's lots of things that don't work about it, especially the easy processing suite that I use to stretch my images. That's no longer a thing, unfortunately, so it's 2024, it's a new year, might as well make a new one. Now, before we get started, I do use the RC Astro plugins, Star Exterminator, Noise Exterminator, and Blur Exterminator, and they're all paid plugins, but they're the best plugins you'll ever buy for astrophotography processing, so I highly recommend getting them. If you already have the Photoshop versions of any of those plugins, then you don't have to buy them again. Speaking of plugins, I also use a new plugin called Image Blend that blends two images together. It allows me to recombine the stars and the nebula when I separate them without having to use Pixel Math or anything like that. It's really nice. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, so you can go ahead and copy that link and install it into PixInsight. I'll show you how to do that too. Another thing new I'm doing is I'm using PixInsight to plate solve my images now. That means PixInsight knows exactly where in the sky my camera was pointing. And in order to in order to plate solve in PixInsight, you need to download some star catalogs and save them onto your computer. So I'll show you how to do that and install the star catalogs into PixInsight. It's pretty easy. In the description below, I'll also leave a link to the file I'm processing, as well as my processing icons that will show up on the right side of the screen, so you can just click those instead of having to dig through all those processes in the menus in PixInsight and try to memorize all those really long, stupid names like spectrophotometric color calibration. All right, guys, well, I've already stacked the file. I think it was in Deep Sky Stacker, so yeah, we're just gonna jump in and start processing. Let's go. All right, before we can get into our PixInsight workflow, we need to install a few extra things. First thing I want to install are some star maps so we can use the plate solver within PixInsight. Do that by going to PixInsight's website, go to Downloads and Software Distribution. It'll ask you to log in, so just do that. And here's where we can find our star catalogs. We're looking for Gaia DR3 right here. I'm gonna click that. And these are all star maps. Now, these are pretty big and they take a long time to download, and I just didn't have the time or patience or hard drive space, for that matter, to download all of this. So I think I downloaded the first three, and that was it. So go ahead and download the first three and put them in a folder somewhere in your computer. And we also need to download a few of the Gaia DR3 SP star maps as well. I think I just downloaded the first two, and things seem to work fine. So download those first two, store them somewhere on your computer where you know where they are. And yeah, I mean, you can download all of them if you want to, but I just didn't have the time. They're really big files and I have a very slow internet connection out here in the country. Now, once we've got our star maps downloaded onto our computer, let's install them into PixInsight. Go back to PixInsight and we're gonna go to Process at the top, All Processes, Gaia, right here. And we just need to tell it where those star maps that we just downloaded are. So we'll go down to the wrench icon down here at the bottom, Gaia DR3, hit select, and find the folder where you saved all that stuff. For me, I just have it right here on my C drive. Just go to the Gaia DR3, and there's the maps. I just select those and open them up. And then we'll click this right here and Gaia DR3 SP, click that, hit select, find the DR3 SP files we downloaded, select those and hit open. And we should be good to go and able to plate solve with PixInsight now. Now we also want to install a new plugin called Image Blend that does a really good job at blending two images together. And so I'll have a link to that in the description below this video. But you can also see it here. And the way to install it is to go to Resources, Updates, Manage Repositories. Here's the actual link right there, but you probably don't have it yet, so let's go ahead and click Add and paste that link in here and hit OK. And then you just hit OK again. Now we're gonna go back up to Resources, Updates, check for updates. And it should find that any new plugins you've installed, such as Blur Exterminator, Star Exterminator, Noise Exterminator, Image Blend, any of that, and it will download it. And once it's done downloading, all you have to do is close out of PixInsight and reopen it, and everything should be installed and ready to go. Now, before we open the file, we're gonna go ahead and load up my icons. I'm gonna click this right here and go to where I saved my icons, 2024 icons. There we go. I'm gonna open that. Now, if you're not seeing them show up right here, try right-clicking in this area and go down to Arrange Icons and clicking that. If that still doesn't work, make sure you're on the same workspace as the icons down here. Sometimes you might be over here on that workspace, yet your icons are on that workspace. See what happens when I click that workspace? The icons go away. Yeah, make sure you're on the right workspace. Okay, I think we're now finally ready to start processing an image. I'm gonna go to File and Open and find the file I wanna process. And there it is. I'm gonna hit Open. I'm just gonna click this right here to kind of expand the image window a little bit. All right, the image is very dark. It's not stretched at all. So the first thing we're going to want to do is do an automatic stretch preview. I'm going to go to Screen Transfer Function, which is my very top icon. You can also access it from the Process menu, Process, All Processes, Screen Transfer Function. It should be over here somewhere. Yeah, right there. But here it is. We're going to turn the chain link off right there at the top. Turn that off and hit the nuclear button. There we go. Now we can actually see what we're working with. And if you need to crop due to stacking artifacts, now's the time to do it. So crop is my second icon right here. It's also in Process, All Processes, Dynamic Crop. And I do see a bit of a stacking artifact right there. So I'm just gonna kind of draw my crop out like that. Sometimes if that draw tool doesn't work, you get this little square right here, and if you set it at the edge of your image, a little tab pops up, and you can adjust your crop like that. Now I think that's the crop I want. I'm gonna hit the green check over here. There we go, got rid of those stacking artifacts. Close out a dynamic crop. Now we're gonna remove any gradients, light pollution, or anything like that with dynamic background extraction. I have it DBE right here, but it's also in Process, All Processes, Dynamic Background Extraction right there. So let's open up DBE. First thing I'm going to change is tolerance. I'm going to set that to 1. Tolerance is, basically how good of a job it does telling what's the background and what's the nebula, I think. I'm not quite sure about that. I'm going to change shadows relaxation to about 6. Come down to sample generation. Default sample radius is how big your sample points are, and 5 would be very small, 100 would be very large. I'm going to go with something like 50. And just hit generate. It should generate some sample points around my image. It's just trying to see what the background is. I'm gonna find any that are on bright stars or on the nebula, click on them and hit the delete key. Don't want any sample points on my nebula, and there seems to be a lot of them. Let's go ahead and get rid of these. All right, that's looking good. I'm gonna go down to the bottom to target image correction and change it to subtraction. I'm gonna click discard background model because I don't want a separate picture just showing me the light pollution it removes. As a matter of fact, you know what? We are gonna keep that. I just wanna show you what it looks like. Just gonna keep everything as is, I guess. And correction is subtraction. Okay, we can either drag the triangle right onto the image or just hit the check mark. All right, let's close out all of this crap. Close out of dynamic background extraction. All right, here's the background model. This is gonna be an actual image of what it just removed. This is the crap it just pulled out of my image. That's kind of cool looking. Didn't even realize that was in there. All right, I'm gonna close out of that. We don't need that. Now this is our new image. We can come up here and click this TV with a nuclear button icon, or bring back up screen transfer function. I'm just gonna hit the TV with the nuclear icon. All right, that is our gradient-free image. We're gonna close out, or at least minimize the old one. I'm just gonna put it away in the corner over here. Next thing we're gonna do is run Blur Exterminator. It's gonna kind of fix any problems we might have with the stars, while also sharpening everything a little bit. I have it right here, Blur X, in my icons, but you can also find it in the Process, All Processes menu, Blur Exterminator. So let's open that up. I'm gonna come down here, and this is the reset button. I'm just gonna click that and make sure everything is at default settings. And I'm gonna take the triangle and drag it right onto the image. All right, it's done. Let's close out of this crap. Let's kind of zoom in and look at a before and after. Here's before, here's after. I really like what it did with the stars. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little color calibration and get these colors a little more true to real life. And one feature in PixInsight that does that extremely well is up here under Process, Color Calibration, Spectrophotometric color calibration. Man, that's hard to say. But for that to work, you actually have to plate solve the image first. PixInsight needs to know where in space it's looking at for that color calibration to work. And so we're going to plate solve this image real quick. Let's go up to Script, Image Analysis, and Image Solver. First thing we need to do is tell it, what we're taking a picture of, what's in the image. And that's the Veil Nebula. And let's look up that catalog number. NGC 6960 should work. It's part of the Veil Nebula. Click search. I'm just gonna hit OK. Now we need to tell it, what day we actually shot this on. So I usually have my data saved in folders with dates on them. That kind of helps. Looks like I shot this around the 4th of November, 2023. Change this to 2023. November 4. And I probably shot it around 7 p.m., which I guess would be 19. 19 o'clock. That's just so weird for me as an American. All right, at image scale, I'm gonna click focal distance, and I shot this with a Radian 61 telescope that had a focal length of 275 millimeters. And I used a Canon T5i, and I need to put the Canon T5i's pixel size right here. Let's look that up real quick. .30 microns. 4.30. There we go. Now I'll just hit OK, and it should plate solve my image. Now PixInsight will know exactly where in the sky that is. All right, it's done plate solving. Now we can run our color calibration. I have it over here as just color cal, or you can go to Process, Color Calibration, Spectrophotometric Color Calibration. Now you could literally just run this as is. Just go ahead and hit the square right here. But I did use a dual narrowband filter. And so I like to kind of include that where it asks for what filters I used. So I'm gonna hit for my red filter, Canon, and I use the Altair 6 nanometer dual narrowband filter, and that's very close to the Optilong L Extreme, I think. So we'll just click Canon Full Spectrum, L Extreme for all 3 filters. Like I said, you don't even have to do this. You can literally run this as is, and it's gonna look great. So I'm gonna drag the triangle right onto the image, or just hit the square, and it should color calibrate it. Keep in mind, this does not work if you did not solve your image. So make sure you go plate solve before you do this. All right, we're done. It's giving us some graphs and stuff. I don't care. Getting rid of that, close that down. There we go. Now we have a very balanced, good looking image. The colors are wonderful. Let's do a before and after actually. Before, you can tell the 03 is more green, and after, it's more of the teal color it's kind of supposed to be. Just in case there's any leftover green, we're gonna run SCNR. I got it right here, or you can find it in the Process, All Processes menu for SCNR. This is just a green removal tool. Usually change the amount to about 75%. Drag the triangle onto the image. All right. Now zoom in, we can tell this image is kind of noisy. I mean, not too bad, but if you pixel peep, it gets pretty noisy. So let's remove that. We're gonna use Noise Exterminator. I've got that icon right here, or Process, All Processes, Noise Exterminator. It's in there somewhere. All right. Noise Exterminator, between 70-75%. Drag the triangle right onto the image. All right, that's done. Let's look at a before and after. Before, you can see all the grain in there. After, really cleans it up nicely. Now I'm going to go ahead and separate the stars from the nebula and stretch them both separately. But before I do that, I want to just create a copy of this image so I can always come back to this point if I want to. I just do that by left clicking on the name on the left side of the image right here and just dragging it out, and that creates a duplicate. I'm going to minimize the original and just kind of put it down here in the corner in case I need to come back to it later. And now let's run Star Exterminator on it. I got that icon right here, but you can also find it in Process, All Processes, Star Exterminator. Let's make sure Generate Star Image is selected because we definitely want a stars only image. And either drag the triangle onto the image or just hit the square. Dragging the triangle onto the image, for some reason, is just so much more satisfying. All right, that's done. We got a stars only image and a starless image, which looks pretty bad at the moment, but that's fine, we'll fix it. I'm gonna right click the star only image, go to identifier and just call it stars, all lowercase, that's very important. And then I'm gonna turn the stretch off, the auto stretch. And we're gonna stretch the stars manually later, but I do that by clicking this TV with an X. You know, if you don't see some of these icons up here, by the way, they might be hidden. You might have to move some things around, see how that just hid those? Yeah, it took me a while to find them, but they're in there somewhere. So yeah, let's turn the auto stretch off of the stars, minimize it, put it down in a corner somewhere, we'll come back to it later. Let's also turn the stretch off of this image as well. We're not really ready to name this one properly yet because I have a feeling we're gonna be jumping into Photoshop. I'm gonna close out a Star Exterminator and let's stretch this image. In my last PixInsight tutorial, I used something called Easy Soft Stretch. That is no longer available for PixInsight, sadly. A lot of people use the screen transfer function to stretch. Just hit the nuclear button. Yes, I know that looks really bad, but if you put your mouse right here and kind of use your mouse wheel to zoom in, actually, let's turn this off. Let's hit reset. Let's turn the link RGB channels back on. Now hit the nuclear button. Now if we move our mouse wheel right here, kind of in this box, we can see our mid and black point sliders right there. And we can kind of adjust that. It's mainly our midpoint right there that we want to adjust. Our black point, if we aren't careful, we can really clip the blacks in the image, and we don't want that. So I'm just mainly playing with this midpoint slider until I get things just how I like them. Try not to overcook the image. All right, that looks pretty damn good. I think I'm gonna go with that. So, in order to apply this stretch, we're gonna have to open up Histogram Transformation. And where it says no view selected, we're gonna go to, what the hell is the name of this picture anyway? Oh yeah, Altair clone, there it is. Select that. Now, with the adjustments we just did in screen transfer function, we're gonna click the triangle on screen transfer function, hold it and drag it down to the bottom of the histogram transformation. Boy, these names are kind of ridiculously long. There we go, let it go. Created this little histogram right here. Now we're gonna actually apply it to our image by hitting the square. Now it just blew out, it kind of like double stretched it, but it stretched it for real and then added an auto stretch. That's what it did. So let's turn the auto stretch preview off. And there we go, that's our stretched image. I could have done a much better job framing this, but whatever. Yeah, look at that. Ugh. You know what, looks like we might not have to jump into Photoshop after all. That stretch worked out pretty good. Let's close Histogram Transformation and Screen Transfer function. Now that's looking pretty all right. Let's do a little Vibrance and Saturation, shall we? I'm gonna make a mask around the Veil Nebula, so just that is going to be affected. I'm gonna do that by opening what my icon says, Range Mask. In the Process menu, Process All Processes, it is Range Selection. Either one's fine, just click it. And in order to see the mask you're creating, you have to open up a preview, this little circle right here called real-time preview. Click that. Now let's just drag up our lower limit slider until we got the Veil Nebula selected, just like that. That looks great. And let's blur our mask by turning the smoothness up. That way everything's gonna look good and natural. All right, let's go ahead and create this mask by clicking the square. I can close out of most of this crap. Let's close out of range selection tool and the real-time preview. We should just be left with this mask and our actual image here. I'm gonna click on the name on the left side of the mask and drag it under the name of the actual image right here. See that right there? There we go. I'm gonna let go. There we go. I've created a mask. Now I'm gonna open up Curves. Curves Transformation is what it's called in the process, all processes menu. I've just got it called Curves here in my icons. All right, and in order to see what you're doing in Curves, you also have to open a real-time preview. So let's do that. Let's click Saturation over here. And let's just start turning the saturation up a little bit. Oh man, those reds are really popping. I'm gonna hit Apply. And the second I hit Apply, it kind of like double stretches it. So let's hit Reset. There we go. And I might just do that one more time. Hit Apply and Reset. And honestly, that looks really good to me. I don't think I'm gonna do much else to it. I'm gonna close out of Curves Transformation, close out of the real-time preview, and I think the final thing I might do is just a touch of sharpening. So we're going to go up to Process, All Processes, Unsharp Mask, or we can use my icon that just says Sharpen. Once again, we need to open up a real-time preview to see what we're actually doing. So let's click this circle, and I kind of want to zoom in to get a better look at what I'm doing, so I can hold the Control key on the keyboard. I'm gonna draw a box around the area I want to get a closer look at. You can see it's already applied a little sharpening. Let's turn that off and then just kind of gradually sharpen. Let's do that. I mean, I think that's all I need right there. Any more than that, it starts to look like crap. Let's turn that back down. Yeah, that looks good. I'm gonna hit Apply and close out of Unsharp Mask, close out of this process console, close out of the real-time preview. Whew! All right, now let's get rid of this mask. I'm gonna reopen my range mask and hit X, close it. There we go. I really like that. Now let's stretch out our stars and then add them back in. I'm gonna open up Stars. Now I'm gonna open up Histogram Transformation and switch the view from this to Stars. Open up the real-time preview, this circle, so we can see what we're actually doing in Histogram Transformation. All right, now let's take the midpoint slider right here and just slide it over to the left. Start to see our stars come back to life. All right, we're gonna hit Apply, and it's going to double stretch it, of course, so we hit Reset right after Apply. There we go. Let's drag the midpoint slider all the way over to the left again. Apply, Reset. I'm gonna do it one more time. I don't want my stars to get too big, so one more time should do. Slide this over to the left. It's almost too much. I'm gonna stop about right there. This is gonna be a smaller stretch. There we go. Hit Apply and Reset. Maybe one more tiny stretch. There we go. Apply, Reset. Let's close out of the histogram transformation, close out a real-time preview. And now it's time to recombine the two. So I'm gonna go back to our starless image, right-click it, go to Identifier, and rename it Starless. Now, there's two ways you can do this. One is by using Pixel Math. I already have the Pixel Math in an icon right here. You can just click where it says Recombine Stars, and you can hit the square and it'll automatically take care of them. As long as your names are set just like this, starless and stars, the way I have it in this little equation in here. As you can see, it's created a recombined image that looks great. I'm going to close this down though, or at least minimize it. If my icons aren't working for you, all you have to do is go to Process, All Processes, go down to Pixel Math, open that, and type in this little expression right here. Now I'll leave a link to that in the description below so you can copy it and paste it right into Pixel Math. And once you have that pasted into Pixel Math, hit this drop down arrow right here and check Create New Image. Then you can go ahead and hit the square and it should give you a final image. Now, if you don't like using Pixel Math at all, there's another new blending method that I had you install earlier. So let's have a look at that. We're gonna go up to Script, Utilities, Image Blend. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the reset button so all the parameters are at default. Go up to the top where it says View, and I'm gonna click my starless image. That'll be my base image. And we're going to go ahead and add the stars image to our blend image right here. I'm gonna click View, select my stars. Right now, the blend mode is on Replace, so it's not blending crap right now. Let's change that to Screen. And there we go. And now if you wanted to, you can actually adjust the opacity of your stars. They don't look very good when they're kind of dim, but if you wanted to make them even smaller, this is a way to do it. When you're done, we just hit the check mark. And we have our recombined stars and nebula without ever having to use Pixel Math. I think I'm just going to do one final noise exterminator on it and call it a day. Just open up noise exterminator, about 70–75%, somewhere in there. And hit the square or drag the triangle, whichever is best for you. All right, guys, that's our final image completed 100% in PixInsight. When we're done, we can just go to File, Save As. We can save it as a TIFF, a JPEG, or anything we want, and give it a name, and we're done. All right, that about wraps that up. If you learned anything new, got anything out of it, please let me know in the comments below. And if you liked it, give me a like and definitely subscribe and come back for more. This is turning out to be a pretty good year so far. I definitely want to give a big shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for the support. My patrons actually helped pick out which photo I was going to process for this YouTube video. So thank y'all for that. If you want to know more about my Patreon, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Basically, you can come and chat with me and my other patrons on our private Discord server, but also you get access to extra videos from outtakes and blooper reels to processing tutorials. There's actually a follow-up processing tutorial to this one that's going on Patreon around the same time. So I hope to see you over there. I hope to see you in the comment section. And I'm gonna get out of here. As always, stay spacey, clear skies, watch out for snakes, and we'll see you in the next one. Kitten.